So welcome. If you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
So I'm Bella. I joined the Sixth Form College in 2013. I did AS English Lit, Philosophy and Ethics, Medieval History and French. And then on my second year, I stuck with English Lit, Medieval History and French. And then I went on to uni and studied English Lit in 2015.
Fantastic. And where did you go to uni?
I went to Exeter University and I did English Lit for
Fantastic.
3 years there.
And so how did you choose where to go to uni? So where were you deciding between and where were you considering? How did you decide? How did you know what course to do? All that kind of thing.
So I did the generic thing of looking at the league tables, which is fair enough. I wanted a Russell Group uni where possible, just because I'd heard that they're better. I didn't really know why, but I had just heard that they were. Yeah, I kind of judged it on the top 10 for English because I knew for a while that I wanted to do English or history. So they were kind of in similar positions on league tables.
Yeah.
And I think I was really bothered about having a campus university.
Yeah.
And I think it really helps in first year because obviously you're away from home and a nice place as well as being a good uni for me.
Lovely. And so that's really nice that you knew your course early on. And so what did you do to prepare to apply for English?
It's hard to sort of think of it in a preparation way because I knew I wanted to do it. But I definitely looked through course a lot and I tried to tailor my position statement to what was on the course. It was a bit cheeky, but I just wanted to make sure that I was on the right, barking up the right tree.
Yes.
Tried to think about the books that I really liked and I didn't sort of put pretend ones in my position statement because I know that that's tempting.
Yes, definitely. We always say that. I'm like, don't write things in your personal statement that is going to be picked up if you go to interview.
Have not read, yes.
So you went and did 3 years at Exeter, and did you enjoy it?
I did. I loved it. It's a learning curve, and yeah, I loved it. I ironically feel like I had more fun in the third year than I did in the first year, which is the wrong way around. But yeah.
I think perhaps you settle in and find your feet a little bit, much like sixth form. It takes a bit of time to kind of get used to it.
But it was totally overwhelming at first.
Yes, and I think that's the other thing is that actually, like you said, that kind of independence that actually a lot of the students now at sixth form will be studying independently and things. And actually, hopefully that will be to a certain extent a little bit like university in that you kind of get taught the content and then often you have to do quite a lot of work on your own on it. Fab. So you finished there and then what did you do? So people often ask, what would I do with an English degree? Why would I do an English degree? What does it lead to?
For a while, knew I wanted to do something in public sector. So I applied for a law conversion course. And then I ended up doing a master's at the Uni of Law in London. And it was easy to sort of move on to that from an English degree because it's very ridiculous amount of reading, a lot of essays. So I was kind of prepared, sort of. And yeah, it's very useful having those analytical skills. I know everyone says it's the analytical skills that are transferable, but it's true.
I say all the time.
Yes.
And so had you heard about a law conversion course? So explain that out to us briefly. What is that?
So the typical one is the GDL, which is the graduate diploma in law. And basically you have to have already done an undergraduate degree to BA standard. You can get a 2-2 or a 2-1, they're not too bothered. But you then have to do the 7 core subjects, which is equity, criminal, contract, and so on. And it's usually across 9 months. So it's a very intensive course. But it's basically a bolt-on to your current degree, and it's a standalone. I have all the core knowledge of law in order to practice it, so it counts as a qualifying law degree.
Which is brilliant. So basically, you're doing really a law degree in 9 months, so it's very intense, isn't it?
It's 3 years of content in 9 months. Yeah.
So it's why you have to have that undergraduate degree to kind of underpin it. And I think the interesting thing about law conversion course is actually if you're not necessarily interested in law as an undergraduate degree, which lots of people are because it's a fantastic course, but actually you can do a big kind of one you're really interested in and then specialize later. So that's really exciting. And so tell us about what you're doing now. So what did that then lead you to? So you did your English degree, Exeter, and you went to London to do your law conversion. And tell us about where are you and what you're doing now?
When I was sort of in the last couple of months of my law conversion, so about a year ago, I started looking for jobs. And like I said, I knew I wanted to be in the public sector kind of area. I started looking at family law and stuff. And I actually went to the careers fair at my university. I actually met the manager of a firm, and then I spoke to her and we had a chat. And now I'm a paralegal working Monday to Friday in care proceedings cases. So it's a lot of drafting, which if you like writing documents, well, document sounds a bit depressing, but if you like writing sort of narratives and then analysing them, it's perfect. It's very much like the essay kind of structure, whilst also doing something that's aiming for a good outcome, and it's very interesting.
And so it's very varied, the work?
Oh, incredibly. It involves a lot of science and like psychiatric reports, psychological reports, obviously advocacy. You get to meet real people going through terrible situations. It's across all the boards. If you're interested in the slightest, criminal proceedings, housing, anything like that, is always relevant in these matters, because the nature of why these proceedings are going ahead.
And I think that's a really great thing. It's so cool for students who are at sixth form now to see where can it take you. And the other thing, it's so great for students to be able to see someone who's kind of gone out and done a degree and specialised and then gone into work that is really interesting. Because I think a lot of young people don't quite know what the future holds and kind of think, where would this lead to? And I often say to them, actually a really good degree leads to varied jobs. Some are very specific, like medicine or veterinary medicine or dentistry, but even so, with that degree, you can still go in different directions. I think that's really good for them to see. So if you were to give some tips to your former self, either let's say you in your first year, and let's imagine you were in lockdown at this point and you were at the end of your first year of A-levels, what kind of advice would you give for students this time to keep motivated, or what tips and hints would you give for preparing for second year?
Well, the first thing I would say is keep in touch with your friends from college. And if you have any questions about anything, just ask your teachers. If you're genuinely interested in something, we'll probably want to read up on it. Maybe look at what's coming for the next year. Use this time to familiarise yourself with what might come up.
That sounds fantastic. Good. Thank you so much for joining us, Bella. And so lovely to catch up with you. So thank you very much for that.